Morning, morning. Awesome. Hey, I don't know if you have had this experience, and I actually really I pray that you've actually have had this experience I'm just about to talk about. You know, when you've got somebody in your life who cheers you on and encourages you to go for it sometimes, or just sort of is there, and you know, whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through, sometimes, and they just sort of like, maybe they just contact you out of the blue, they send you a text, they just send you a message, you know, or maybe it's more intentional than that. Maybe you've got somebody in your life who's really shaped you and helped you and encouraged you along the way. And just personally speaking, so many times over the years, when somebody, even when they didn't even know it at the time, like when they have done something which was just like, I don't know, it's just like a shot of adrenaline, or like filling your tank back up where you can carry on. And it's like, you know, maybe you're facing something and there's big challenges, and just people saying, you got this, you can do it, go for it. You know, it's that, like, it's the stands, you know, the people in the, you know, applauding and cheering you on. And I hope that you have someone in your life that like that. I hope you've experienced that at times in your life. And maybe you're even like that for somebody in your life. Maybe you're one of those people that is just able to speak life into other people. And I want to encourage you and say, you know, we all need that. And whether you're here this morning, whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, whether you're exploring faith, whether you feel like you're close to God or far from God, and whether you're joining us online or in the room, wherever you are, we know this is a human need. It's important to have somebody who invests in us. You know, we are here because someone took time in our lives. We know that. Somebody took time in our life. And you know, this is universal. This applies to everybody, no matter where you're from, no matter where in the world you come from, no matter your age. This is universal. And the thing is, this is actually historic. I mean, this is like a human thing. It's gone on for thousands of years, and we've even got in the collection of the book, which is called the Bible. You know, the Bible is a collection of books. It's essentially like your library that you can take away with you. 66 different books. We've got history, and we've got poetry, and we've got apocryphal stuff, and we've got biographical stuff. You've got a whole bunch of different things all put together in one book. You've got letters and all sorts. And even in the Bible, even in this library of the Bible, there's a story where, an episode where there's this person who's speaking into a future generation, and there's this young guy, his name was Timothy, and he had the mentor whose name was Paul, and Paul spoke into his life. And here we got a picture of Paul there. That's, of course, taken from his Instagram profile picture. Last week I said it was at the real apostle, isn't it? I mean, anyway. So there he is. So we got Paul, and yeah, the joke didn't work very well last week either, so I'm so naive, I just try again. Keep going. One day it will be funny. No, so anyway, like Paul, like invests in this guy, Timothy, and Timothy had Paul in his life who spoke into him and helped him and encouraged him and shaped his life. And Paul went from this like hating the Christians, destroy the church vigilante. I mean, he was like the fundamentalist of the fundamentalists. He was out there to destroy what was going on. And then Paul had this incredible encounter with Jesus, which totally changed his life. And I'd love for you to have that same encounter. I'd love for you to discover what Jesus can do and what Jesus does do in our lives. And anyway, he has this encounter with Jesus, which totally transformed everything he was doing. And from that point on, from being a vigilante to destroy the churches, Paul became this church planter, this missionary. He was reaching out and spreading and teaching all these churches. And he was planting churches all around the Mediterranean. And as he's getting older in life, he was getting in trouble, he was getting arrested, he's been beaten and whipped and shipwrecked. I mean, he had a crazy life once he decided to follow Jesus. It went crazy. And there's this time that he writes to Timothy, and we have these letters collected, and the letters are in the book of the Bible, in the library of the Bible. We've got this letter, and he writes to Timothy. And this is actually his last letter, and it's his most personal letter. It's not like telling people, here's what you need to do, or here's some advice on how you structure things, or here's some input on this aspect of church or theology. It's actually a personal letter. It's very, very personal. And throughout the letter, he's encouraging Timothy, and he's writing to Timothy to tell him, you know, carry on, and you can do it. And he writes to them, as he says, and he starts out in this passage, it's 2 Timothy chapter 2, and he says, my son, Yeah, it's so personal. The whole letter is filled with these references when he calls him his son. Be strong in the grace of Jesus. And then he gives him this stuff which is going to help Timothy know how to carry on. Help Timothy know how to have a purposeful pursuit in life. How to keep going and not give up. How to have something worth living for. And he says to Timothy, join with me like a suffering soldier. You know, and a soldier, no one serving gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather works to please their commanding officer. And then he gives them another picture. He says, also, anyone who competes as an athlete does not receive the prize unless they compete according to the rules. The hard-working farmer should be the first to receive a share of the crops. Now, we've been doing this for the last 3 weeks, and today's our last one on this little series, and we've been looking at the suffering soldier, the competing athlete, and today is the hard-working farmer. And those three words, a suffering, competing, hardworking, here's what they mean in the original language. This is what, just in case you wondered if it was like as heavy as it sounds, it is. So suffering is like to face hardship, to endure, you know, and competing, again, to endure, to engage, to contend for, to suffer. Hard-working, meant to grow tired and weary from your labor, to be exhausted with toil or grief. Man, if that's not a sales pitch for being a follower of Jesus, I don't know what is. Come on, join it. Be suffering and competing and hardworking. You know, it's not really like how we promote it, is it? You know, I mean, here's Paul, and he's investing his life into Timothy, and he is saying, man, this is what you got to think about. This is what's going to help you carry on, because just like a soldier and just like an athlete and just like a farmer, sometimes you have to endure. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you're going to be worn out and weary and tired, and you're going to feel like it's a struggle and you're suffering and doing everything you can to endure. But I want you to be able to endure. My son, be strong in the grace of Jesus. You know, you can do it. This is Paul cheering him on. You know, you've got it. You know, you've got it. And just wrapping up some ideas, you know, these three pictures, soldier, athlete, and farmer, have to do with who you are, is your identity. But then Paul says, he gives them explanations, you know, suffering soldier, competing athlete, hardworking farmer. So those are behaviors. Those are what you do. It's not just who you are. It's your identity and your behavior. You know, it's more than just identity. You know, it's who you are. See, it's not enough to just be a soldier. It's not enough to just be an athlete or be a farmer. It has to affect the way you do things. So this is like, you know, the following Jesus is so incredibly practical. It's so honest and so practical. It's just great. It's really good learning as you disciple and grow in following Jesus. It does become about what we do based on our identity. He changes our identity, and then out of that changes our behavior. And the thing is, think of it like this. If you follow Jesus, like your beliefs turn into actions, Your beliefs turn into actions. You know, I must love my neighbor. I must learn to turn the other cheek. I must learn to forgive. I must learn to bless those who persecute me. It's tough stuff. It's not easy. Those are hard things to do. I mean, forgive somebody that's harmed you or hurt you, even if they've done it on purpose. Come on, that is stupid. Yeah, you see, our beliefs turn into actions. Our beliefs turn into behaviors. Our identity affects our behavior. And this is what Paul's saying. You know, a suffering soldier, competing athlete, hardworking farmer. It affects what you do and how you do it. And today we're looking at this idea of a farmer. And if you've missed any of the other messages, you can catch them online. Catch them on our YouTube channel is the easiest way to catch them. In the middle of the week, we put the message out online on there so you can catch it. But think of it like this. We're looking at the farmer. If you had a packet of seeds, I'm thinking now it would have been a really good idea to have brought a packet of seeds with me as an illustration. Just imagine. You can imagine there are any seeds you want. Yeah. Just think of whatever seed you've got. So imagine you got a packet of seeds. Those seeds are really good. They're really effective. But they're not going to do anything in the packet. The seed is a seed. Its identity is there, but its behavior doesn't do anything until it is planted, right? Until it does something. Till it gets, moved into it. And Paul's saying that to Timothy. You can do it, but it's going to involve you having to do it, having to be involved, having to do stuff. And he says to Timothy, the hard-working farmer should be the first to receive a share of the crop. So we're just going to fly through these next bits really quickly. The hard-working farmer, we talked about this hard work a couple of times already in the previous weeks. But let's just think of it like this. If you're working hard for something, you know that the benefit doesn't come easy. Sometimes it's hard work. We talked the other week about, if you're in a relationship, sometimes it's hard work. It's not always easy. Things are hard work. The hard-working farmer, the ground you till, if you're a farmer, you wake up early. The ground can be really hard. You got to break up that ground. You got to prepare the soil. You got to get things done. You might work longer hours. You're working really hard. Hard-working farmer. You could suffer pain. You could have blisters. You could have sunburn. The hard-working farmer. We know most of us, none of us, I don't think, are actually farmers. It's not really something that I go farming all the time. I go to Lidl, and I just pick like a bit of carrots here and a bit of apples here. Say hello to all my friends and all. We don't do farming like the way these people would have done farming. They know what farming is. They know it's hard work, and they know their very lives depend on it, don't they? They're hard-working farmers. And we live in a culture, we just want quick fixes. We want instant gratification. We want stuff fast and quick, and we want it now, quicker than now. Yeah, that's the way we live. That's a human thing. Our culture nowadays, we want convenience, and we want it to be more convenient than it was last year. We want it easier today than it was last year. That's what we think. That's what we seem to think is the best way to do things. And that's how stuff is sold to you all the time. The next one, the first to receive. The hardworking farmer should be the first to receive. And I was just started thinking about it. He's telling Timothy something so incredibly practical there, isn't he? The hardworking farmer should be the first to receive. The first to receive. The first to receive. Like, you have to eat some of the produce to be able to continue working, don't you? Like, you should be able to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. You have to. You should do. If the farmer is always giving, and someone else is always taking, that's not going to last very long. It's not sustainable. It's not doable, is it? You know that in life. You know that. Because it happens in relationships. Maybe you've had a relationship that's functioned in that way. Felt like it was always give, and more giving. And it was just take, and more. Maybe you've experienced that in the workplace, or maybe you've experienced that with your friends, or somehow there's this conversation with this person, you don't actually want to ask them anything, because no matter what you ask them, it somehow turns into them telling you all about the stuff that, you know what I mean? We all have probably experienced that, and we've all maybe even done that ourselves. But the first to receive, and think about it like this. I was just thinking, when you're on an airplane, have anyone ever been on an airplane? Pre-COVID, there were these things called planes that flew all around the world, and you could go anywhere you liked with pretty much whatever, you could just go. Anyway, now, so on an airplane, they do the safety talk, don't they? They tell you the talk at the beginning. Now, they tell you, if you're traveling with children and the oxygen mask drop, what are you supposed to do? Put it on yourself first. Put on yourself first. See, you put on yourself first, and then you are able to take care of that which you're responsible for. And this is what Paul's saying to Timothy, the first share of the crops. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to fully take care of others the way that you're supposed to. The hardworking farmer should actually receive the share of the crops. And the thing is, by making sure that you're taken care of, you can take care of others better. Just like an airplane. If you're taken care of, you can take care of others better. Finally, a share of the crops. I was thinking like a share of the crops. So, and I was just musing on that, like a share. So like, oh, if you're going to share it, it must mean that it's not just for you. If there's some to share, then it's not just for you, which is a nice balance on the thing about saying you get it first, but then the crops must be shared. There's enough for others, and the harvest is not solely for self. The harvest is also for others. The harvest is for others. So it's like, Timothy, you got to work hard, man. This is hard work. This is tough work. Hard work. Go for it. You got to make sure you're being fed, though. You got to take care of yourself as well. But also, it's not just for you. You're a blessing to be a blessing. Yeah. You're strong to be strong for others. This is what he's saying. And a farmer must think of others. And a farmer must think of future growth. If a farmer doesn't think of future growth, then everything's over. Right? We had a great crop this year. What are we doing for next year? What are we doing for the year after? If the farmer doesn't think about the future, if the farmer doesn't plan ahead and think about the future, then no matter how great the harvest is now, there'll be nothing for the future. Nothing. So the farmer, he or she, has got to think of the future. They have to. And so I just thought, let's a couple of things we can draw out of being a farmer. And a farmer knows that there is potential in the seed. The seed. The farmer knows that there's potential in the seed. She knows there's life in that seed. That's where the potential lies. But the farmer also knows that for it to reach its potential, for that seed to reach its potential, it must be given away. You have to do something with it. You could have a box full of seeds in your shed at home. Maybe you do. They're not growing anything. And they never will until you do something with it. So the farmer knows it has potential in the seed, but the farmer knows for that seed to ever reach its potential, it has to be given away. It has to be sown. And then the farmer knows how to maximize the potential of the seed. The farmer knows that some things are out of their control. You cannot control the sun. You cannot control the rain. You cannot control how the weather goes. There's things that you are totally out of your control. You can do nothing about them. So does the farmer do nothing? Or does the farmer do everything he can to maximize the potential in that seed? He works the soil. Maybe you need some fertilizing. Maybe you need to do some tests. Maybe you do some extra watering. Maybe you remove the boulders. You dig the soil. The farmer is going to do whatever they can to maximize the potential of the seed. Whatever they're growing, they're going to do whatever they can to maximize the potential in that seed. And there's things that are totally out of the farmer's control. But like we said before, none of us are actual farmers, are we? Maybe you're growing a few plants this year. Maybe you do every year. And it's nice to have a few beans or tomatoes or courgettes or whatever you grow. It's nice. It's cool, isn't it? And so I like to grow a few things. They're really nice. They're amazing. But it's not like enough. I can't live off it. Yeah, I'm not like a farmer, and it's not like my livelihood. I'm just sort of like a novice, put a few things in the ground and hope something happens, sort of planter. But you get the picture. Like, none of us are actual farmers. So what is it really? So how can we apply what we're talking about? Because without application, it just means nothing. It's nothing. And so I want to just spend the rest of our time trying to be looking at some application stuff. Now, something we have to remember, we talked about this every week. Paul was not a soldier, an athlete, or a farmer. So the context is local church. Now, these are great life lessons. The stuff we've been talking about are great life lessons. You can apply them in education. You can apply them in your school setting. You can apply them in your work. You can apply them in your friendships, your relationships. You can apply these principles. Of course you can. They work in other places. We have to remember that Paul's filter was not for your employment. Paul's filter was not for your relationships. Paul's filter, the filter that he's investing into Timothy, was all about local church. Paul is a local church leader writing to a local church leader and wants him to carry on in local church. Specific people in a specific place with a specific purpose. So as we move on to this application, I have to warn you now, the application that we're talking about is local church stuff. It's not pie in the sky theory, because theory's only good for thinking. We're going to talk about doing, application. So I have to warn you now, the next stuff that we're going to talk about is how do we apply this in the context of local church. Now you might want to take it and apply it in other areas of your life, and that's totally cool. But I'm going to stick to what Paul was doing. And Paul was writing to Timothy about the local church. So we're going to lean into that. And it might be a little bit uncomfortable, I'm sorry, and a bit challenging. That's okay. We're taking 2 weeks off so I can hide and nobody comes and gets me. But when we come back in the summer, we've got some fun stuff planned for you for the summer. But these last 3 weeks have been all about challenging, provoking, passion, local church, okay? So I'm warning you now. That's what it is. If you want to leave, you can go. That's cool. I still love you. So anyway, so this is all about the local church. And think about this. So we've got these packets of seeds, and I think the seeds we got in our lives, if you pulled out one of these packets of seeds and, this one says time. And I pull out this packet of time. Parsley, sage, rose. Now you get it. So you pull out these packets of seeds, right? You pull out these packets of seeds and it says, time, talents, treasures. These are what we've got in our lives. We've got time, we've got talents, we've got treasures. Those are the things that we have. Those are the things that we have been given. And there's potential in every single one of those things. There's potential in our talents, there's potential in our treasures, there's potential in our time. There's potential in that seed. There's potential there. But that seed will only bear its potential if we do something with it. And here's what we do. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough talents. I don't have enough treasure. I can't really. And so what we do is we put it back in our pocket. And those seeds end up doing the same thing that the box of seeds in our garden shed do. They do nothing. Because they sit there doing nothing. And we, for some reason, we've been convinced that it's about quantity. We've become convinced it's about the mass, how much time you have, how great your talents are, or how much money, how much your treasure is. We've somehow convinced that we don't have enough, and we think that we are so poor. We think that we are we think we have nothing. We all have the same amount of time. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We all have it. We all are given the same amount of time. And what we do, we don't recognize the potential in the seed because we hold back. So the issue is not how much you've got. The issue is what have you got and what are you doing with what you have. That's the issue. That's the big issue in life. It's not how much or how little you have, it's what have you got and what are you doing with what you have. What are you doing with what you've got? See, a farmer knows that if this is ever going to reach its potential, I have to do something with the seed. I have to give it away. I have to invest it. I have to sow it. I have to do something with it. Because if I never give it away, it will be a lovely seed in a packet full of seeds just sitting there collecting dust. But if I really believe in the potential of this seed, then I have to do something with it. So the farmer knows they have to do something with it. It's worthless without being given away. It's worthless if he doesn't give it away. And please don't let the size of what you have cripple you from finding out what you can do. We say one of our missions at New Life Church is together doing everything we can to reach everyone we can. Our vision is to inspire people to find and follow Jesus. Our mission is together doing everything we can to reach everyone we can. I want you to be part of that mission. And you can be part of that mission by recognizing that whatever you've got, whatever time, talents, and treasure you've got, you can do something with what you've got. Only you can do something with what you've got. And it doesn't matter how much you've got. It doesn't matter. It's not about the quantity or the vastness or the size. It's about doing something with what you've got. It's about the investment. It's about recognizing the potential. A farmer has got to maximize it. They got to do everything they can to reach everyone we can. You know, and the farmer knows they got to maximize the potential in the seed. There's some things out of their control, but other things are in their control. See, I can't change someone's heart. You can't change someone's heart. You can't. I mean, if you've got children, you've tried to make them follow, make them obey, but like, they can do whatever they like, you know? They have this amazing, uncanny ability to like wiggle out. Because you can't change someone's heart. You can't. You can't do it. So do we give up? Do we say it's not worth it? I'm not going to carry on doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to continue just investing and sowing week after week and wanting to have people who can find and follow Jesus. I'm just going to give up because I can't change people's hearts. No, of course not. I'm going to do everything I can to prepare the soil. I'm going to think about every single obstacle, every single boulder that might be in the midst of somebody who's discovering what Jesus is like. And then I'm going to do everything I can to get rid of those boulders. So think about it. If you're on our hospitality team, you're serving on the hospitality team, you set this room up so amazingly, you get it done every week. Do you know what you're doing? You are removing boulders in people's lives. You're removing, think of it this way. What obstacle can we remove from someone to find and follow Jesus? We want to remove every possible obstacle, every boulder that's in the way. We want to remove it. So we try not to preach with jargon. We try to speak in ways that are understandable. We try to be real people doing real life and loving a real Jesus. Like we try to, it's not about, you don't have to have status or wealth or money or you know what, you can belong before you've even discovered who Jesus is, because we believe he loves you so much that as you get involved, he's going to change your life. He's going to change. It's just, we want to remove every single obstacle. And if you're serving in our superstars, if you're out there every single week, you're out there serving, investing in a generation, you're out there, and you know what you're doing? You're trying to remove boulders that are in their lives because you want to speak truth into their lives. You want to speak hope into their lives. You want to speak love into their lives. And you know what? Every single day of the week, they go out into a school setting where they are told their only value is whether they can read as quick as the others, if they can color as quickly as the others. When you get older, you have to be able to do the science and the maths and the geography and the history, and it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And do you know who the heroes are? The ones that always get the top grades and the ones that go to the best universities. And I'm sorry if you're not as quick or as smart as or as fluid as the others. You just get lost. You fall behind because the system doesn't. They go out every single day in a world that tells them their value is based on their performance. And do you know what you get to do? Every single Sunday, you take that boulder and you get rid of it because you say, I love you, I value you, you are worth investing in, I believe in you, and I'm here to serve you. You're removing boulders in their hearts. That's what we're doing. We're removing obstacles because there's potential in the seed. And then the farmer knows there's potential in the seed. And you got to do something with it. You can't change the heart, but gosh darn it, we will do everything we can to get rid of every single boulder. We want to make Jesus as accessible as possible. Jesus is costly. It's going to cost you your life. If you follow Jesus, it is so costly. It's going to cost you everything. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and tell you, oh, life is perfect when you follow Jesus. No, man. Dude, it gets tough. You have to love your enemy. You have to pray for those who persecute you. You have to forgive people that you never wanted to forgive. You have to learn to be kind to those you don't want to be kind to. Okay, following Jesus is not an easy task. It is not a crutch for the weak. Man, it is so tough. It is so hard to follow Jesus. It will ruin your life in the best possible way. It will change your life in the best possible way. But it's tough. It's tough. It's hard work. It's tough. And this is what we're doing. We are investing. We are working to remove every kind of barrier, every kind of thing. We want to do everything we can to help it as best we can with what we've got. I'm not going to make excuses and say we're in a hired building and we only have hired spaces and we have to kit out rooms. We're here for hours beforehand to setting up 2 buildings. Are we going to complain about it? I'm going to complain about what we've got? No, I'm going to realize the potential and let's do something with what we've got for the season that we've got. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to do everything we can to reach everyone we can. That's what we're going to do, because the farmer knows that there's life in the seed, there's potential in the seed. The potential is never realized unless you give it away, and I'm going to do everything I can to maximize that potential in that seed. That's the kind of farmer that I want to be. And that's what it boils down to. Timothy, what kind of farmer do you want to be? Paul is telling Timothy, what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of church person do you want to be? What kind of church leader do you want to be? What do you want to be? Yeah? You're going to be like a suffering soldier, a competing athlete, or a hard-working farmer? What are you going to be like? Because how you spend your time, your talents, your treasures is your choice. All down to you. It's all down to each one of us. It's our choice. And if I have to make a choice, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to err on the side of generosity. I want to be a farmer that errs on the side of generosity. That should be enough. Yeah? Or I'm going to be like, man, I'm gonna err on the side of generosity. There's a field. We're going to put seeds. We're going to fill the whole field. I'm not just going to do a little thing in this little bit here. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm going to fill my whole windowsill with plants. And I do. I have so many seedlings at home. I should have brought some and given them away today. That would have been another good thing I should have done. Anyway, there's so many. Remember the other week we were looking at some stuff and I had like 700 tomato plants on here. Like, there's so many seeds. Yeah, be generous. I'm going to err on the side of generosity. I'm going to err on the side of lavishness. I'm going to err on the side of like just going for it. Because there's this story in the Bible, Jesus tells this parable about this guy, which is a story about this guy who's sowing seeds. And do you know what he did? He sowed seeds everywhere. He threw them like, he was just doing it all the time, everywhere, which seems a bit mad, but he just was like going for it. That's what I want to be like. I want to err on the side of generosity. I don't want to get stuck into stinginess and poverty thinking. I want to be generous with my life, generous with my attitude, generous with my, just everything. We're not talking about money here. We're talking about your time, your talents, your resources. Come on, think of, it's bigger than that, isn't it? We want to err on the side of generosity. And if you sow a small crop, you reap a small crop, don't you? Man, there's 34,000 people in Letchworth. There's plenty of people whose hearts can discover the life-changing love of Jesus. There's so many people. The fields are so much, right? So much. So therefore, as a local church, we sow. We want to just be generous. We want to err on the side of generosity. So we do things like the TLG. We go into schools. Elaine's doing it. We talked about earlier. We run the Make Lunch program. We're running it again this whole summer, providing food for families who don't have food during the summer. We're not going to sit back and wait. Let's do something with what we've got. We're investing. We've got the orphanages, the group that we support in Zimbabwe, the group that we support in Moldova, the group that we support in India. We want to be generous with what we've got. We want to sow, right? We want to err on the side of generosity as a local church. That's what we want to do. And every moment is a moment where you can sow seeds. Every moment, every day, if I'm chatting to strangers, if I'm speaking to people in my favorite supermarket, if I'm on holiday, man, I'm going to be a generous sower. I'm going to speak life and hope and truth and love into people's lives every single darn chance I get. I don't know what kind of week they've had. I don't know what kind of day they've had. And I could be that person that says something that helps them carry on. And I don't actually have to know them. I just got to be generous with what I've got. I got to be generous with what I got. I want to be a cheerful giver. That's what I want to be. That's the kind of farmer I want to be. The other kind of farmer I want to be, we're getting close, got to wrap it up with time. The other kind of farmer I want to be is I want to prioritize generations. I want to err on the side of generations. I want to err on the side of generosity, and I want to err on the side of generations. Because if a farmer does not plan for the future, then there is no future. We have got to work for the future. There's this crazy thing in this story with Timothy. Just before Paul writes this other stuff, he writes to Timothy about somebody else in Timothy's life. And he says, you know what? I remember, Timothy, I remember your grandmother. And I remember your mother. I remember the faith, which was first in Lois, your grandmother, and in Eunice, your mother. Timothy is like the third one down. He's the third generation. And Paul's saying, hey, I remember. I'm reminded of that. Yeah. Now, here's what happened. Lois and Eunice were a means to an end for Timothy. Lois and Eunice were a means to an end for Timothy. They became a means to an end for somebody else. Okay, this is another sobering thought, but here's the truth. We like to speak the truth here. You're dying. You're older today than you were yesterday. One day you will die. Hopefully not soon, okay? Man, hopefully not soon. Like it or not, we're dying. We are dying. This physical body is dying. We will all one day die. We will not be around forever. So what am I leaving behind? What am I leaving behind? Is there a legacy? Is there a heritage? Is there something for the future? I have time, talents, treasures. What am I doing with them? Trying to take them with me? I'm not going to do much good then. What am I doing with what I've got? What am I doing with what I've got? And you can choose, and we can choose, and I can choose what to do with our resources now, because one day we will die. We will die. I mean, just think about this. This is a funny little story. It's not true, I'm making it up. But it's a funny little story nonetheless. Imagine being at Lois's funeral. This Lois, I don't know how they did it back then, but just imagine you were at Lois's funeral. And in the eulogy, and they're talking about Lois, and what would they say? Things like, Lois worked really hard. She had a nice house. Lois went on lovely holidays. Lois had an amazing amount of followers on social media. Lois had some amazing clothes. It was always bang on trend. Lois always, what do they talk about, Did Lois see what Timothy became? What did they say about Lois? We don't even know she's still alive. Lois, this woman of faith, who cared for Eunice, her daughter. What was said at the eulogy? Oh, you remember Lois? Yeah, man, she was just this woman of faith that was just so life-giving to other people. Yeah. She sowed into other people's lives. Yeah, she got her daughter Eunice. One day Eunice will be married. I'm sad that Lois wasn't around to actually see what would happen in Eunice's life. I'm sorry that Lois isn't here to know that Eunice is going to have a little boy whose name is Timothy, who one day is going to be a prominent leader in the early church. They became a means to an end for somebody that wasn't even around yet. That's what a farmer does. A farmer invests in the future. They became a means to an end for someone who wasn't around yet. That's the kind of farmer I want to be. I want to build for the future. I want to have a legacy that I don't even know about. I want to see people come to faith that I don't even know about, but they came to faith because I followed what Jesus told me to do, and I did not sit on my butt and hold the time, the talents, and the treasures that he gave me to myself. Because there's somebody down the line who I might not even know yet, who needs me to be faithful, who needs me to be responsible, who needs me to do what I'm supposed to do with what little I've got. And this tiny little seed is so full of potential. This tiny little seed can do something. I don't even understand or imagine how much it can do. But I have got to be a farmer that errs on the side of generosity and errs on the side of generations. And when I am dead and gone, I don't want people to say, oh, he had a lot of social media followers. I want people to say, oh, my life meant something in a different way because I was a means to an end for somebody else. That's all that matters. Become a means to an end for somebody else. Become a means to an end. You want your life to be meaningful? Be a means to an end for somebody else. We want our lives to be meaningful because who's going to believe in Jesus because of me? Who's going to believe in Jesus because of you? Somebody. Invest in a generation. You can be that mother. You can be that grandmother. You can be that father. You can be that grandfather, can't you? You can be that grandmother. You can be that mother. See, it's not about your age, yeah? It's about what we do with what we've got. You can do it. And a generation needs us. So we're starting the summer holidays. And we're going to wrap up. I know we need to finish. This was the start of the summer holidays, isn't it? And whether you got children in your life or whether you don't have children in your life, but you'll see them around for the next 6 weeks in a different context because it's the start of the summer holidays. And I want this moment to impress on your heart so much so that every time you see a young person, you begin to think, I wonder what the potential is in their life. I wonder who's written them off. I wonder who's told them today that they are not good enough. I wonder who's told them today that they're not pretty enough, smart enough, clever enough. They don't have the right bits. I wonder what struggles that they're going on in their life right now. I wonder what identity crises they're facing. I wonder what's going on in their life. And we can be a people who invest in a generation. We can be a generous people who invest in a generation. And there is a generation that needs you and it needs me to play our parts. We need to do it. We need to be involved. There is people's lives at stake, and you don't even know who they are necessarily. Invest in a generation. Invest in a generation. Because a farmer knows that you will reap what you sow. We're going to wrap up on this verse. Paul said this thing in another letter, which is in that library called the Bible, and it's in his book called Galatians, and he writes this to the people in Galatia, and he's telling them, carry on, don't give up, don't give up. You will reap what you sow, so don't become weary in doing good. Remember, a hardworking farmer gets tired, weary, worn out. Don't become weary in doing good, because at the right time, you will reap a harvest. Don't give up. You'll reap a harvest if you do not give up. Therefore, every time we have opportunity, I'm going to err on the side of generosity. Every time I have an opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those in the household of faith. I mean, Paul always applies it to local church because he's writing about local church stuff, y'all. Let us do good to all people. So as we wrap up this sort of 3-part series, the thing is we have got to have hope. We have got to have hope. There is hope that one day we will reap what we sow. If we don't give up. So let's not give up. Let's encourage one another. Let's provoke one another. Let's challenge one another. Let's support one another. When you're tired, let me give you some of my strength. And when I'm tired, please lend me some of your strength so we can get what we got to get done together. We are going to do it. You know what? And every opportunity, we're going to seize it. We're going to go for it with everything we've got. We're not going to make excuses. We're going to make moments. I'm tired of making excuses. We're going to make moments. We're going to go for it. We're going to do whatever we can to reach everyone we can. However we can, we're just going to go for it, you know what? And we must do it, and we will be a harvest if we do not give up. So I want to close, and I just want to pray for you. And what I've said the last 2 weeks as well, how you apply it is really down to you. And I don't want you to feel guilted or pressured into having to sign up for anything or do anything like that. So we haven't had sign-up sheets. You know, it would have been a great opportunity, wouldn't it, every week to give you a sign-up sheet. On your way out, sign up for children's work and sign up for this team. We haven't done that any of the weeks because I don't want you to feel guilty about something, because I trust Jesus in your life so much so that he will show you and provoke in your heart what you can do. There's always opportunity. There's always opportunity. So you can get involved if that's where you're at. Maybe it's time for you to get involved and serve on a team. Maybe it's time for you to start figuring out how to sow financially into the mission. That's for you. I'm going to trust that God will speak to you and show you what you need to do. It's not for me to strong-arm you into doing something. I trust God. I trust his work in your life, and he will speak to you, and then you have to listen to what he tells you. Because I want to see us disciple. I want to see us grow. And that's how we grow. We listen to God and we do the things that are challenging to us, and he'll help you in that process. So can I pray for you, and then we'll close? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much. God, thank you for the amazing opportunity to be together. And thank you so much that Paul wrote this letter to Timothy. And little did he know thousands of years later that we would be reading it and it would be speaking into our situation and our lives. Thank you so much that Paul did not hold back with what he had to sow. Thank you that he invested in the next generation, that he spoke into somebody named Timothy, and now it speaks to us. God, help us to be people like that. Forgive us when we've been narrow-minded. Forgive us when we've been stingy and selfish. God, just forgive us when we've held back. And God, I just trust you now that you will speak to each and every person here in the room or online. God, you will speak to us and help us know what we need to do to take our next steps. God, we love you so much and we honor you. In your name we pray. Amen. If there's anything we can do, I'd love to chat to you afterwards. If you have any questions, want to talk about some stuff, that'd be great. Have an amazing, awesome, whatever you're doing, summer holiday. Hopefully get to see some of you at some of the summer socials. We got 6 weeks of activities. If you're around, it would be really cool to do that. And if you need a glass of water, there's some at the back because it has gone a bit sticky in here, hasn't it? So yeah, have an awesome, blessed week, and thank you so much.